Well, it's better late than never. Yo, what's going on, everybody? My name is Tyler, and welcome back to the Mind Nerd Studio. And today we are finally talking about Thor: Love and Thunder on the channel. You guys might know, but if you guys don't know, I'm gonna tell you. I had dental surgery the week this movie came out, and so I was not a happy camper, and I didn't want to sit in front of a camera talking about a movie for an hour and a half. And I had to watch the movie in agonizing pain. It was not fun, but I still did it anyway because content has to be made. But I wanted to wait till I got healed to fully talk about this movie because there is a lot to talk about. It's an MCU movie, but Thor: Love and Thunder. I was not looking forward to this at all. I felt like I was on an island. Um, I thought the trailers were both not good. The second trailer was a little bit better than the first trailer, but I was like, I'm not feeling this at all. It looks really goofy. I'm not feeling this, which is ironic about how I feel about this movie, which we'll get into in a second. Um, so I walked into this movie on top of being in agonizing pain. I was like, when the IMAX logo came on, for those who watch movies in IMAX, I said like 18 prayers during that logo. I was like, just be good, be fun. Before I get into how I feel, let's run down who's here. My boy AJ, who's I guess my partner on these at this point because he's been here for pretty much all of them. What's going on, brother?
Yo, what's going on? After a long day of work, talk Thor: Love and Thunder.
And we got my guy. I think it's his first time on. My boy
No,
Matt.
second time. Second
What
time.
what was the first one?
We were doing MCU ranking.
You're right. We did do that. That was so long ago.
I got that memory, man. I know stuff.
Yeah, that was so long ago. My boy Matt, Basic Entertainment. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, guys? Great to be here once again, and can't wait to talk about Thor somehow when I must do this.
Drinking in my my collectible Thor: Love and Thunder cup, as I always get for these MCU movies.
Yo, I wanted to get the Mjolnir. I went up to the counter.
AMC one. Yeah,
yes, that was kind of raw. And I went up to the counter. They were like, "Yeah, we sold it. We sold all of ours, but you can order it online." It's like $40, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, mine was
moments passed, bro.
Mine was 25, and I was like, "Yeah, I like it."
Imagine getting that cup like a week later online. It's not worth it.
I think I have a popcorn bucket or cup for every MCU project in Phase 4 that's not Shang-Chi or Eternals because they didn't have them. And I was pissed that they didn't have one for Eternals. Shang-Chi, I don't think they had it, and I was like, oh, whatever. I have Black Widow, which that's just a reminder that movie is not great. Then I have No Way Home, I have Doctor Strange, and then I have this one too. Nice. They had one for Jurassic World too, but it looked lame. I was like, oh. All right. Before we get into the review, let's see who's in the chat. Luke Ponto's in the building. What's going on, man? Nerd Talk MVP. Jason Carr is in the building. This man was my Prime Day savior because he sent me the Matrix box set, which I gotta get tomorrow. And then I gotta pay him back for this one. He purchased the Transformers the 4K set for me because he has Prime and I didn't, and that was a set that I did not want to lose out on. So, thank you, Jason. You are amazing as always. Now you guys know how we do it. We go spoiler free, then we go into the spoilers as usual. You guys can spoil away because the movie's been out for a good bit now. So go ahead, spoil away in the chat. All spoilers are welcome. So Thor: Love and Thunder is directed by Taika Waititi, director of Thor Ragnarok, Jojo Rabbit, Hunt for the Wilder People, and stars Christian Bale, Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, Tessa Thompson, and Russell Crowe, and Taika Waititi himself. And tells the story of basically Thor. He's like alone, basically. He feels alone in the universe, and he wants like something to cling on to, and then his ex-girlfriend comes with his ex-hammer and is like, "Hey, I'm here." And then there's this villain named Gore the God Butcher, who is God Butcher by name, association alone in this movie. Uh, and he vows to kill all the gods, and Thor, Jane, and Valkyrie and Korg, they all must team together to stop him. That's basically the whole movie. So, as I stated before, I was not looking forward to this. I thought the trailers were really goofy, and I didn't really understand what the story of this movie was going to be at all. I was like, this just looks like nonsense. And the movie does have more of a story than the trailers did. So, as I said, walking into this, I was not excited. And walking out, all this, and like within the first 10 minutes of this movie, I was just surprised. And that's really how I was for the entire runtime of this movie. It just kept surprising me over and over and over again. And maybe it's because I walked in with low expectations. I don't know. But I walked out of Thor Love and Thunder absolutely loving it. I thought it was a blast from start to end. I thought it was just so much fun. It was one of the better summer MCU movies because we always get one. We got this year. Last year we got Black Widow. In 2019 we got Far From Home. In 2018 we had Ant-Man and the Wasp. 17 was Spider-Man Homecoming. This isn't as good as Homecoming or Far From Home for me, but it's good. It's really good. I feel like I'm on an island with this. Now the roles are reversed now that the movie came out because I'm one of the few that really, really liked it, and everyone else is like, no, I didn't like this. Um yeah. I really, really enjoyed this movie. We'll go to AJ and then we'll go to Matt. AJ, what did you think of Thor Love and Thunder? Walking
All
out.
right. I'm gonna start with when we got the announcement that it was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I was mildly intrigued because for a long time before Spider-Man came in the scene, during the MCU in the MCU, I Thor was my favorite Avenger. He was my
Mm-hmm.
favorite Avenger for a while. So anything that they put out with Thor, any movie, any project, I was down. But at this point, when they announced it, I was mildly intrigued, but I'm like, kind of like, I'm not really looking forward to this that much. Um, the first trailer came out, I was like, this don't look too bad. I was kind of feeling the trailer. I wasn't like jumping for joy or excitement. I was just kind of like, okay, this is a little bit more intriguing. And then the second trailer came out, and I was like, this could be kind of good. This could be really good. But leading up to the actual release date, I was getting pumped. I was pumped. Then early reviews came out, and I was like a little more discouraged because people were saying things that I was kind of worried about the film, about like its silliness, its goofiness, things like that. And I was like, I really don't want another Ragnarok. I want something that's a little bit more serious. I know it's gonna have jokes. Taika Waititi is over it, so like I know it's gonna be jokey here and there, but I didn't know, to what extent. I watched the film and I was hugely disappointed in some areas, and then other areas I really enjoyed it. So, I'm a little torn with this film. But yeah, for the most part, I did like it.
Okay. Matt, how did you feel about Thor Love and Thunder?
Let me try to take it back as well, like AJ did. So when this got announced, I was like, wow. So that Ragnar was well received, and they want to kind of kick off almost a new franchise with Taika Waititi doing Thor. It's basically a new trilogy after you watch this movie. And I thought, Christian Bell got announced, Natalie Portman's coming back. Sold. You got me sold over those two. And then going in, I kind of needed something like Multiverse of Madness, was a little more darker, right? And in MCU tend to do this where it's like you get like a serious movie and then you kind of like a heartfelt palate cleanser movie. I was like, okay, I'm cool with it. I'm definitely cool with it now. I was somewhat in a good mood. I was in a good mood, but when I sat in the theater, right, I couldn't turn off my brain. I can't turn off my brain for the MCU at all. I've been this invested into the universe to the point where we're watching all these shows, now we're watching all the movies at the same time. I can't get myself to just turn off my brain and enjoy it. And I bet if you do turn off your brain, you will enjoy it. I personally did not enjoy it because there were some moments where I just use the simplest common sense of how I think this character should be in certain parts. It's just so stupid. It was just it was really goofy. It got too goofy. It's Ragnarok is a better movie. I can't believe I'm actually saying that, but I think Thor Ragnarok is the better written movie, and even the those serious tones and balancing, Ragnar does it better. This movie just takes it too extreme. But that's my spoiler free thoughts.
I can agree to that.
All right, so let's get into the pros and cons. So the biggest positive for me, which was something that I said from the trailer, despite not liking the trailer, the one thing I did notice is the color palette of this movie is really good. And this is something that I was looking for because I really do enjoy Thor Ragnarok, but the one thing that stands out in that movie is that there are scenes where it's not, but it's for the most part there are scenes where it's mostly like really gray and like dull. Like the Valkyrie scene, I think stands out as probably the best scene in the it's one of the best scenes in the MCU.
In Ragnarok.
Yeah. But for the most part, it's not very. I think the most vibrant part of the movie is when they're on Sakaar. I think that's the part where it's the most vibrant, and the gladiator fight is pretty, But the movie, there's parts in the movie where it's like really gray and dull. It looks like dishwater. This movie is very bright and shiny and glamorous, and I like that. I like that it looks energetic. The acting across the board for the most part for me is really good. Chris Hemsworth to me at this point owns the role of Thor. He is so fucking good as this character to me. I really like him as Thor. There's very few actors in the MCU where I'm like, they own that role. Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man to me. Tom Holland to me is Spider-Man. But you can always get another Spider-Man. Chris Evans to me is Captain America. Like, not Steve Rogers, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
Steve Rogers.
Discourse going on.
Yeah. I love the fact that Sam Wilson's Captain America. I had to say, Steve Rogers.
Steve.
He is Steve Rogers, definitely.
I am Steve Rogers.
Yeah, there's very few MCU actors that I'd be like, yeah, that's the only person that can play this character. To me, this is the only person that can play Thor. Natalie Portman, who I was kind of nervous about because they barely showed her in the trailers in the sense that they gave her lines to speak, and I was like, is she gonna be good at all in this movie? And yeah, she is. She's really good. She looks great. As Mr. Stu would say, she ages like fine wine. Yes, she does. She looks great. I loved her role in this movie. Her and Thor have great chemistry in this movie. Tessa Thompson, once again, as Valkyrie, is great. I love her. She's one of my favorites in the MCU. Taika Waititi himself as Korg was Korg. If you like Korg, you'll like him. Which I'm glad about because Taika Waititi has been acting since Ragnarok, and I've disliked him in everything he's done after Ragnarok. I think the Jojo Rabbit came out in 2019, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I liked him in that, but I didn't like him in Free Guy. I thought he was not good in Free Guy, and I didn't like him in Lightyear at all. So it brought me pleasure to say that he was good in this movie. This movie is very well directed, which comes with the course. Taika Waititi is a good director, which I'm pretty sure every MCU movie is well directed. I don't think there's a single MCU movie where I'd be like, the director is at fault for how bad that movie is. most of the time when we say the MCU movies are not good, it's because of the writing.
It's the
Which is
writer's
true.
room, yeah, the
Mm,
script,
You
yeah,
know,
the writing.
I would agree with
because
that.
even a little part of me is dying here. Even Captain Marvel is well directed. It is a well directed movie. I can give it that. You know, Thor: The Dark World is a. I think Thor: The Dark World's a pretty good directed movie. It's just the
Just the
script,
writing.
yeah, the
Yeah.
writing.
The writing, yeah.
You
Once
know,
again,
but yeah, this movie's very well directed. The action sequences were awesome, like awesome. They were really good, especially one in the third act. The soundtrack to this movie, both licensed music and score, were both great. Michael Giacchino at this point is he's reaching Hans Zimmer and John Williams level at this point. He's fucking amazing. And normally when people put out so many projects at a time, which is ironic because of the movie franchise we're talking about, when someone puts out a certain amount of projects at a certain time, they are not consistent and they stumble. Michael Giacchino has not done that because he did this, he did Jurassic World, he did the Batman. I'm pretty sure he did something else too within this year, and all of it was good. So it takes real talent to be that consistent.
the goat,
The licensed music in this movie, I
right up your alley.
Yeah.
It's like they were singing to you. They
yes,
curated the playlist for you.
yes, they did.
I
And
was watching the
I
movie. I was
just
like, Tyler, I know Tyler loves this. I know Tyler is loving this.
if you guys have not seen this movie and have the opportunity to go see it in IMAX, please do so because this movie in IMAX was awesome. It was what I liked seeing this in IMAX more than the Batman because the surround sound was just insane for this movie. And when they played some of the songs on this soundtrack, I lost it. hearing hearing Welcome to the Jungle with all that surround sound, I can't even describe how happy I was.
Music to your ears.
Um I think the effects for the most part are pretty good. Uh, I think it all looks pretty good, you know, despite what this fucking community will tell you. I think the effects are pretty good. I do. For me personally, I like how simple the story is and how fun the movie is. I like that I can just kick back and watch it and not have to really, you know, be like Eternals where I have to sit there and get emotional and almost be on the verge of tears, you know. Um, it's kind of like Doctor Strange, but Doctor Strange to me is it has more oomph to it, a lot more oomph to it. Um, the third act of this movie is awesome. I generally did not see what happens in the third act of this movie happening, and when it did, I was like, "Ooh, wow, that was really fun." And for me, where the movie leaves Thor is intriguing as hell, and I was like, I cannot wait to see Thor again in the MCU, where it leaves him. And my last positive is that the post credit scenes to me are both solid and they're probably the best post credit scenes we've had since Eternals for me because Doctor Strange had pretty bad ones. Well, the end one was not bad, but the second one or the first one was really bad in Doctor Strange, and then Spider-Man, I didn't really care for the Venom one, and then I didn't really like the ones in Shang-Chi either, to be honest. I was like, well, whatever. But yeah, those are my positives. If you guys have any positives I did not mention, go right ahead.
Matt, you go first. Matt, you go first, bro.
Um. Huh. All right. So there are some jokes that I like. The opening of the movie was a nice recap of Thor. I thought that was fun. Um, Christian Bell and Natalie Portman are great. Um, the fight in the Necto world was pretty. That was actually pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that was a dope fight. Um, And yeah, I think that's it. If I'm being dead honest,
AJ, are there any
Okay.
positives that I forgot?
No, but I wanted to kind of reiterate some of the ones that I really enjoyed. The soundtrack, that probably is my number one for this film. I really love the soundtrack, the licensed music soundtrack. The score didn't hit me as hard as it probably hit you, but the soundtrack was awesome. It made me have some fun with the film. The action sequences, for the most part, I did enjoy a lot. The first half of the third act, I really liked the first half of the third act. Um,
So
see,
with the third act, before we get into spoilers, you
Mhm.
liked everything with that big moment that happens.
Yeah, and then when they go into some place,
Uh
I
huh.
didn't care
Oh
for
yeah,
that.
I agree. Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
yeah. So, and even like the epilogue stuff, I didn't love. But getting back to positives, I loved I loved Christian Bale, bro. I loved Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher. I thought he put on a phenomenal performance. I thought the character was written great. Um, and that kind of goes into my negatives as well. Um, but I won't get that there yet. But yeah, but I don't know if there's yeah, so like Matt said, I did really like the um relationship between Thor and Jane. I did like that.
it was better here.
It was definitely better here
Yeah,
It's
than in
easily
the
the best
first
that
one.
we've
it's
seen
the
it.
best one.
Yes. But that goes with some of my negatives as well. So
Yeah.
like a lot of the positives are kind of paired with negatives in this movie. So I think that's all I got for
All right.
positives.
So let's hit the negatives. I'll start first because I have fewer positives than the both of them.
Negative.
Yeah. I'll
Mhm.
start. I'll start small, and then I'll get to the one that everyone disagrees with me on. Quite frankly, I don't care. Um, I don't like Zeus in this movie at all. I Russell Crowe is not bad. He's being directed and he's doing what he's told to do. Russell Crowe can do no bad. I'm rather infuriated on how they're interpreting gods in the MCU. For
You know what? You're not invited to the orgy.
The God orgy.
if this is the orgy they're crafting, I don't want to go. I'll go to the orgy that's attended by the Zeus from Zack Snyder's Justice League. That's the orgy I'll attend. Um, I've said for a while. This really started. Yo, this fucking fly is bugging me, bro. Leave me
That's a
alone.
negative.
Oh,
Um,
I'm
I've been
pulling Mr.
saying this
Miyagi.
for a while that I wanted gods in the MCU, and it's really the scene from Zack Snyder's Justice League when they show how Darkseid got defeated, and you see Zeus and all these people, and it's an awesome scene. And I'm like, man, where's that in the MCU? So then when I finally heard that Zeus was gonna be in the MCU, I was like, yo. And then Russell Crowe was playing him. I was like, that sounds really good. What we get in this movie, I it's Taika Waititi doing Zeus. That's the way I can describe it. And at first,
Writing
I
Zeus.
was fine with it. I was like, okay, like I like there's certain aspects which we'll talk about in spoilers that I like, but there's there's something they do with him that I don't like. I don't like. He's other than certain things he says, he's basically a clown. And I don't like that at all. And there's someone who shows up in the post credit scene, which I'm very excited for. But if they do that with this character, I'm gonna be fucking livid because I don't want that for this character at all. and someone would ask me, "Oh, well, you're okay with them doing it with Thor. Why are you not?" Because I'm not okay with it because they tried doing the serious Thor thing, and I know you guys prefer that, but for me, I didn't. I found it boring, and so them doing, taking him in this new direction, I was like, okay, they made it work and they made it cool, fine. I would have just liked to see Zeus be serious, and they just made it into a comedy show, made him into a comedy show, and I was sitting there like, well, I got excited for nothing with that. Um, some characters fake die, which I guess this is the trend in Hollywood. Every property is having characters fake die to not die. Uh, Spoiler alert for Stranger Things, they did that in Stranger Things, and I hated that. And then in this movie, they do it twice, and I hated it both times. Um, it's just annoying. I guess no one has balls. No one has balls to kill anybody. Why? I don't know. And we get into my big negative that everyone probably disagree with me, other than Alex. He's not here, but I know Alex would agree with me. I did not like Christian Bale in this movie. I didn't. I've thought about it. I've seen the movie twice. I saw it twice in a row. I saw it once, and then Kevin's not here, but I saw it again because Kevin was going to see it, and I was like, "Hey, I'll go see it with you." I saw it twice in a row, back to back, which I've never done with any movie before. But I did this because I was like, "Fuck it." I don't like Christian Bale in this movie, and it breaks my heart to say that because Christian Bale should have been perfect in this movie for me, and I don't I didn't buy it. I thought I liked the character and I liked the writing for him, but the performance to me was very inconsistent. There's moments where I really liked him, and there's moments where I was like, "What are we doing here?" There were a lot of moments where I'm like, "I don't buy this, and I don't like this." There's moments where he's like really dark, especially in the beginning, which I liked, and then there's moments where I was like, why are you doing this? Just go back to what you were doing before. I said that he didn't work for me. He felt very misplaced in the movie, and I don't know what they were going for, but it didn't work. And was very underwhelmingly written. I, what he does in the movie is fine, but he's not given substance. We get one scene in the beginning, and that's it. And then there's a point in this movie where I'm supposed to really care about him, and I just don't. I don't know. I was very disappointed with him. I found Hella to be infinitely. I found both the performance and the character of Hella way and more entertaining than Christian Bale for me in this movie. But those are my big negatives. AJ, what are your negatives that I did not state?
Um, okay. So the biggest negative for me with this movie, period, is I'm not particularly mad at the things that happen in this movie, but every single thing in this movie gets undercut by comedy. Like almost everything. Like we have Thor doing the splits, bro. It, the whole thing with Zeus and stuff like that, like I kind of saw it coming because of what we saw in the trailer and then what we got leading up to that. I said, Zeus, there's no hope for that. There's no hope for Zeus in this movie because Taika Waititi writing this movie was kind of a downfall. Like the directing was fine. I enjoy Taika Waititi's directing, but when he writes for like kind of like more serious topics, there should have been more weight being held in this movie, and it was because of the comedy.
He's like James Gunn. James Gunn is the same way.
But the thing about James Gunn is that sometimes with his comedy, he balances it right enough for you to care about the characters and if they're going through devastating situations. Like Ratcatcher, you understand the weight of her, Ratcatcher 2. You understand the weight of her past because, it's taken seriously. Now, other things like Jane, we know, what happens with Jane in this movie. I should have felt so much more sympathy and like weight to that situation. But there's the goats, there's doing splits,
I didn't
there's
even talk about the
jokes
goats.
going on, and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, why can't I take anything seriously here? Why can't you take anything seriously here? Gore was undercut by comedy as well. The way that he was doing in the Necro world or the Shadow Realm, it was kind of comedic, and I'm like, what? Let's get back to the dark stuff that you were doing before. Like, I agree with you there, but like Bale, he could do it. Like, we saw
I
him
know.
do it earlier in the movie. So like, let's get back to that. So that's probably my biggest negative in this movie. It was just everything serious was undercut by comedy. And if it was toned down a little bit more balanced, like something that James Gunn does, or even Ragnarok, it was a little heavy in Ragnarok, but if it was a little bit better balanced, like Ragnarok, I would have enjoyed the movie a lot more. And I think that's pretty much all the negatives I have. Like, that's really it.
Uh-oh.
He's
The
going to get his
universe,
list. He's going to get his list ready.
the universe kicked him out as soon as.
It was his turn.
Yeah.
What the heck?
I'm back.
Are you good? Okay.
My time for negatives.
Yeah, I guess.
That's my
I don't
internet
know.
acting here.
Yeah. I don't know if we're ready for this. All
I'll just point out I have a lot of negatives, but I'll just point out the biggest ones. Definitely this movie could have been a couple more hours, not a couple more hours, like 20 more minutes, fully fleshed out the characters like Portman. You bring in two great Thor runs in the comics, recent ones, which is surprising, that are great. And I feel like they were both half baked. I feel like they didn't know which one to choose. I think the Natalie Portman one was done better than Gore the God Butcher. And going on Christian Bale, where I left off with my internet cutting off, he was I didn't feel his presence. I never felt the impact that Gore the God Butcher. I was surprisingly disappointed. I thought he would, every time he comes in, he chooses scenery up, but it's like his character doesn't mean shit. Like, I don't know if you see all the aftermath of what happens, and it's like I want to see what actually happens in those parts.
Bro, he's stealing kids, bro. You didn't feel nothing?
That's another negative too. His plan that to me did not make any sense. I know he wanted to go. I don't know if we can talk about spoilers.
No, not yet.
Not yet. But that not a fan of, I think the biggest issue with this is I can see why people like this Thor. I could definitely see why, and I could definitely see why this is a good or maybe slightly low downer of a template of why people like it. But I've always been a big fan of that first Thor. I think I like boring Thor. I don't like Thor the Dark World because I think that's just boring. But I like him in Thor. I like him in the Avengers. I like him in Infinity War. I thought Infinity War was a good balance of serious Thor and jokey Thor. So I think this character has already peaked, and I want to get back to that Thor. That Thor is way more interesting than this Thor. His characterization now is just cheap to me.
And they kind of make Thor dumb. And
it's a thing where it's like if the audiences are not gonna like it because it's boring and they don't kind of get it in a way, I can understand why people don't. But if they don't get it, it's easier to make something a joke for people to laugh at it or for people to enjoy it. Because I think how he handled stuff in Ragnarok was kind of slightly disappointing. There was no real urgency to go back to Asgard. His planet is about to die, and then here he's just a goofball. He's just a legit goofball. He got dumber, and it felt like a parody. It felt like a Thor parody of the first movie. It felt like an SNL sketch for the majority of it.
I agree.
And that's not a good thing when you want the big blockbuster cinematic, because this did not look cinematic movie. If you get someone like James Gunn, he could do something like this. I would love for him to do this, something similar, because I think he's a better
James
adaptation of it's comedy and action and.
I don't know. To me, Taika Waititi is a better comedic director than James Gunn is. James Gunn writes good comedy when he's unleashed and he can do what he wants. But he doesn't know
I
when
will
to
agree.
stop
So
a joke.
yeah, I'll agree to a
Taika, wait,
point.
if this was James Gunn, we would have had like twice more the jokes that we had in this movie, and they would have been longer too. You know I'm right.
I would say he balances it out better than Taika. I think he balances his jokes better.
I agree with
They're
that.
long. They're longer, but like when it's time to get serious, he makes it matter.
I agree, but I cannot stand how long James Gunn's jokes are
I
sometimes.
get that. I feel the same way.
A
I
lot
feel
of,
the
lot
exact
of,
same way.
you know,
His
fake
his
jokes
jokes,
and
his
stuff.
one liner jokes last like a minute.
It's mostly
Yeah,
Peacemaker that I was like, bro, Jesus
he
Christ.
didn't know how to end it. Yeah,
I know.
but he still. I feel like James Gunn still has better sensibilities of like mashing them both together, the jokes and the serious tones, and
I
more
agree.
heartfelt. That was another negative too.
Mm,
AJ kind of pointed out. I didn't feel anything coming out of this movie. You deal with like with Jane Foster's backstory. I should have felt more. I should have felt more about Gorda Godbutcher. I didn't feel anything. I was pretty empty walking out.
mm,
Mm-hmm.
mm.
Um,
That all
there's
you
a
had?
lot of other negatives, but I'm
Oh,
not gonna get into it.
you didn't really love the
And then when he,
effect.
yeah, what the effects were. I mean, it makes more sense when you get the article coming out this past week about these FX workers overloading with their work,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you see something like this, like okay, I just
Quantity.
think the way how Marvel goes about making their movies is it's starting to be seen now, if that makes sense. Like people are starting to like see it in this way. I think this was kind of a little bit of an awakening call for a lot of audiences, which I thought was funny because it was like it's crazy to see Marvel get this kind of turn, but I'm kind of liking it because it's like I saw this coming a mile away with Ragnarok. When you get something like Ragnarok and you like that type of Thor and how he's presented, you know the sequel is going to amplify what you like, what they think people like. You know,
Kind of
so
like Venom.
they made that
Kind of
sequel and they
like Venom.
amplified it, and it became too much. And now people want to go back and say the first Thor and second Thor were good, but I don't like when people do that. I don't like when people go back and say the movie was actually good, even though it wasn't. Amazing Spider-Man movie. That was we thought we
That's
had
an
a lot
amazing
of those
Spider-Man.
talks around No Way Home. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the best Spider-Man movie, which is
Yeah,
not
we
really
said we
accurate.
said for 7 years that this movie was bad, and now
And then now, yeah,
all of a
Now
sudden,
I
all
don't
of
like
a
when people
sudden
do that.
we got the
Yeah, that's
fanboys out here.
yo, I
mm-mm.
swear to God, this fly is gonna get the only smoke when this stream ends, bro.
You gotta do.
Now forget that shit, bro. All right, we're gonna wrap up the spoiler-free section and go into final grades. So, as I stated before, I had a great time with Thor: Love and Thunder. I do have issues with it, but I do think it was a lot of fun, and it's gonna probably become one of my comfort movies in the MCU where I could just sit and watch it and not get mad about it. So my final grade for Thor: Love and Thunder is a 4.5 out of 5. I absolutely loved it, and I'm very excited to watch it again. AJ, what's your final grade for Thor: Love and Thunder?
Um, I was really looking forward to the film. Watched it, was severely disappointed in a lot of things, but I did have fun with quite a bit of the film. So walking out, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5.
Matt, what is your final grade for
I
Thor:
don't know
Love
if
and Thunder?
I don't know if I'm ready for this.
1 out of 5. Um, I personally think this is probably the worst MCU movie of all time.
Yo,
If I'm being dead honest with you guys, this is the first time walking out of MCU movie saying that I could have waited for the Blu-ray. I could have waited for Disney Plus. I felt kind of empty walking out. But that's just me and how I see this character and how I want this character. It's like if you saw something, if you get something and then you like it, maybe Force Awakens, and then they do a 180 and it's like, what the hell happened. I think that's kind of the effect I'm getting right now, because I don't think neither of these stores are bad. I just prefer the first one.
All right. Well, that is the spoiler-free section of Thor: Love and Thunder. If you are in the stream and have not seen it and don't want to be spoiled, yeah, because we are going to be talking full spoilers for Thor: Love and Thunder. So we're not going to try to go play by play with this because we went longer than I thought we would for the spoiler free section. There's just a couple things I want to talk about, and it's mainly with gore. So, the first scene in this movie is basically the only backstory we get of him. We get this scene where basically his daughter dies. We don't know how she died. She just dies. And
I mean, they mention it.
They do? How?
Sort of. There was battle fight, and they got left with nothing. And he's searching for refuge, searching for food, water, and in the desert. And she dies of starvation.
Mm-hmm.
And their battle was in the name of the gods.
So Gore stumbles upon this, I guess, island or whatever. It looked like an island. Mm-hmm. I thought it was fake.
Yeah, I thought it was fake. I thought it was a mirage.
Then I guess it wasn't. He stumbles upon this god who he worships. I hated this scene.
The sun god.
Yeah.
I absolutely hated this scene. I was like, what the fuck is this?
I don't think it's Christian Bale. I think he's great.
No. It's not Christian Bale.
I think it's when you turn to the other guy and you see this
his head is
like CGI. It just looked
it looked terrible.
It took me out of scene.
It looked terrible, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, oof.
I love this scene on paper. I love this scene.
Yeah, on paper it's fine. It works.
But when it's put to screen, it just was a little rough.
And I like it when Marvel does those cold openings right before the intros. I
agree.
I like when they do those.
So we got this scene where he's talking to this god that he worships. Basically, the premise of this scene is never meet your heroes. We've seen this shit like 18 times in Disney properties at this point. So this god is like, oh, get you're eating my shit. Get away from me. Like, I don't want you here. And Christian Bale is like, oh, but I worship you. And he's like, I don't care. Leave me alone. So then he proceeds to kill him, and then this god killed the previous god butcher or whatever, and the sword was there, and the sword comes up and he kills him in a really goofy fashion. And I was
stabbing him in the neck.
No, like the sound that he makes when he stabbed him, he made like some weird sound. I was like, what the fuck?
I don't remember that.
I was like, okay.
Yeah, I just don't like we're starting to see the trend with the MCU and Phase 4 is that like a object corrupts you. And I think Shang-Chi and for the most part Multiverse of Madness handles it well. I don't think this one does. I think it's like it's an item right there. We just killed someone. Let me just turn to the camera and say this does that, A, Y, and B. It just I don't know. It was too hard of a switch for me to buy.
So that's the opening scene, and that's the only backstory we get for Gore. Apparently, there were scenes cut in this movie that we will never see because Taika Waititi does not want us to have backstory for this character, that he killed a couple gods and then he killed Jeff Goldblum, which I'm glad I didn't get to see Jeff Goldblum die because I don't want to ever see Jeff Goldblum die.
There was a recent report that this movie had to be at in a certain mandate time.
Mm-hmm.
So
they pulled a Justice League.
Yeah.
Which
I'm thinking that Multiverse of Madness was like that too.
Yeah.
Because they said that there were definitely things cut out of Multiverse of Madness.
I don't know how I feel about that. I'm upset that the things that were cut mostly all relate to Gore. I don't like that because if those things were in the movie, I would have liked Gore more. Because I think if you've had those scenes where he's just murdering people, and then you also had the scenes where he's being quirky or whatever, I would have been like, well, at least you did those things before, so I'm invested in you. But without those things, I kind of just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we get for Gore. We get... I wasn't going to talk about this, but we get an electric guitar style opening of the MCU fanfare, which I was like...
That was cool.
Yes, thank you.
I loved it. That brought a smile to my face. I love when they do like different renditions and like things over the fanfare. I really like that.
Yeah, man. So I want to talk about Natalie Portman's So we get the scene where they basically just drop us into the fact that she has cancer. They don't.
Yeah, it was a hard switch. It was from the Guardians. I think you see the Guardians, and then boom,
Yeah,
cancer.
it's like going
Pretty hard.
from a scene from Guardians to the Suicide Squad.
Basically, yeah.
It's like Jesus. Um, but yeah, so I wish we would have had a scene where she's like doing some science thing or whatever, and then she finds out rather than just be plopped.
Yeah.
We got to see Darcy again. Oh boy.
Yeah, that was surprising. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I was thrilled.
Oh, you
Said
didn't care,
fucking
huh?
no one.
She was only in like 5 seconds, man. It's
Yeah.
all right.
No, I don't hate her in the movie. I hate her character. I don't hate her though in this movie. I was like, okay, whatever. That
I
listen,
hope they come out with a Darcy TV show just for you.
bro. Listen,
I kind of like her, man. I don't think she's
I
that
kind
bad.
of like Darcy too.
Yeah.
listen. If there is one character that needs to stay the fuck away from a Taika Waititi Thor franchise, it is Darcy, bro. Could you imagine if Darcy was fully in this movie? She would be like Thor: The Dark World cranked to infinity, bro.
Yeah.
I'm getting cold chills just thinking about that. So basically, they do the storyline in the comic where Jane has cancer, which we didn't know they were gonna do because they didn't show that in the trailer. But that is the comic storyline, and that's what they do here, which I was cool with. I was fine with that. I was like, okay. And she was like, oh, if I grab Mjolnir, it'll cure me, and it does for a little bit, and then it just doesn't at all.
Yeah, I wish we had more scenes like that where we saw the transition with her without the Mjolnir, her with the Mjolnir, and see how it like changes her. Where there was only like one scene where she like broke the bathroom sink, and that was really it. So I wish it was more of that. For real.
The scene, the thing that I want to talk about too is Gore's plan. I personally love that. This is not going to make me sound good at all, but I love that Gore took kids. That happened, and I described this movie as a Saturday morning cartoon on my Instagram, but I meant it in a positive way because it feels like a Saturday morning cartoon. It feels like if this was like a Ninja Turtles cartoon or some shit, Shredder would kidnap kids, and the Turtles would have to stop him and get the kids back. That's what it reminded of. Power Rangers too. It'd be like that, you know. That's what it reminded me of, and I liked that. I was like, okay, that's something we've never seen before. Kids being in danger in the MCU. I can't recall that ever happening. I could be wrong. Whatever. But I like that. I like that a lot. And I was like, that's interesting. What do you mean homecoming?
Not little kids, like young,
little
like
teenager.
elementary, elementary school kids.
Right.
So I want to talk about the thing that I thought was going to be probably the worst thing in this movie, and I actually did not hate it. There's a love triangle in this movie, which people thought there was going to be a love triangle in this movie. It's not the love triangle we got in this movie. So we were guessing that there was going to be a love triangle between Thor, Valkyrie, and Jane. That's not the case. We get a love triangle between Thor, Stormbreaker, and Mjolnir in this movie.
Yeah. I thought it was funny, but now I'm thinking about it,
how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that, Tyler?
I thought it was hilarious. I was like, when I heard it, I was like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. But then when I saw it in the movie, I was like, I can't help but fucking laugh at this shit. This is hilarious. I found the scene hilarious when he tried calling Mjolnir and Stormbreaker came right behind him. That was hilarious to me. I love the scene where he's talking to Mjolnir and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're good, but Jane, go over here." And the Stormbreaker's just sitting there. He's like, "What?" I liked that, and even though this was probably the element of this that I really didn't like, I liked that Stormbreaker was being wonky, and the Bifrost wasn't working properly because he was jealous. It's stupid, but
it went on too long. I think
it is. That's that James Gunn. That's that James Gunn comedy.
I don't know. I kind of thought it was funnier than it sounded. You know.
Right.
Let's talk about the screaming goats. Listen, I didn't hate these as much as I thought I was gonna hate them. When they first showed up, I like sunk in my seat. I said, "Oh my god." I didn't like when they first showed up. I didn't like the scene on the Guardian ship. I was like, "Oh my god." Just oh man. Thankfully, they're not in the movie that much. And when they do show up, it's sparingly and they're not too bad. Yo, this fucking fly is mocking me because now he's crawling up to my foot. Fucker.
Did you like the where?
Fucker! I killed you, bitch.
All right,
bitch. Bro, y'all don't understand. This motherfucker's been flying around my head for the past 30 minutes.
Yeah, we can tell you like
that fly is D-U-D on my floor, bro. Now I can relax.
Serious.
You were talking about the Warriors 3, AJ? I think that's where you're heading to.
No, I was talking about Stormbreaker.
Okay.
And Thor pouring a beer on Stormbreaker.
Yeah, I think that's the part where it's like that joke went on too long, and I feel like
tickling.
Yeah, I think that was a little stupid.
But I found it kind of like quirky because he's treating it as his child.
It is
his
quirky.
child.
Yeah,
and I kind of like.
Is he though? I feel like it was supposed to be like a romantic thing.
No, I viewed it as he's treating it as his child. That's
I don't know what it was.
Him tickling the thing.
Yeah,
it's a lot of there's a lot of signals.
It's some sexual stuff going on there, bro. But anyway, the goats, man.
Nah, they weren't.
I didn't really laugh at anything in this movie except the part
they had.
where,
I know
where
they crashed into the planet.
No, I didn't laugh at
that. Was a little funny.
What?
Yeah, that was a little funny.
No, I didn't laugh.
I thought that was a little funny.
I thought that was probably one of the funniest parts of the movie because I agree. I didn't laugh at them through most of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The fucking guys behind me, I'm not even joking, word for word, they said this. They said the goats are probably the funniest thing in the MCU ever. I wanted to look back and say,
I believe that because every single time there was a joke being said or had in the movie, my theater erupted. They loved it. They ate this movie up.
Not
they
mine.
Ate this movie up so
my first experience, the guys behind me and a couple people were laughing. Then the second experience, not really anyone was liking it. There was like a section of the theater way up in the back that was loving it. But then like everyone around me, I kind of felt bad because I was laughing my ass off and everyone, you heard crickets around me.
Oh yeah, you would have fit in my theater perfectly. In our old timey seats, but the only time I really like kind of chuckled or laughed was when the kids were in the back of the cage or whatever, and they were talking about how Thor cut off Thanos' head
that was
and
funny.
stuff like that, and Gore comes up and gets some kind of creature and cuts his head off. It's like what? And they all start screaming. It's like you just like this 2 seconds ago. I thought that was funny. That was really the only. But
the part that was one of the funniest parts of the movie for me was I was not laughing at these goats at all. But then there's a part in the movie where they crash into the shadow realm or the shadow planet, and you just hear doof, and you're like, okay, and then you hear them yell, and my theater laughed for that. I found that hilarious. That was probably the funniest part with the goats. What else can we talk about?
I mean,
I could go for days with this.
We could talk about. This is something I kind of want to talk about because I don't really know how you guys feel about it. The whole kind of flashback to Jane and Thor's relationship,
I like
the
that.
feeling.
I kind of like that. Yeah,
I would have liked it more if Korg was not narrating it.
I agree.
I would have been able to take it more.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was.
He was saying things here and there. I don't know if it was like the entire everything that was happening.
I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Okay, but I would have been able to take it a little bit more seriously. And be able to like kind of fit that sequence in my mind in the timeline.
Right.
You know, it kind of took me out of it with the jokes.
I liked seeing that because before this movie, I was like, am I gonna care about these two being together again?
Right.
Because
I
all
feel
we
that same
had
way.
was the first movie in Thor: The Dark World, and
Yeah.
I didn't like them in either of those movies. So I was like, okay. And then when they gave us those flashbacks, I was like, oh, okay. Now it feels like they were actually a thing.
Yeah,
Even though
Alright,
I still
cool.
don't buy, I still don't buy the like their love. I don't buy Chris
I
Hemsworth and
like
Natalie
them.
Portman.
I
you know.
think they were best
This one
in
was-
this movie.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was. They try to make you care, but it's still
yeah.
like I don't really like care.
I think I would have cared more if Korg wasn't narrating. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
Right.
I
That's me.
think
That's
in
me.
that it's in the same scene. I would have liked it if when he's looking at the what do they call it? The space dolphins. He says space dolphins or whatever. It would have been cool if he was looking at them and then he starts reminiscing on, and then we get the same set of flashbacks.
Yeah.
And if it was silent, we could still pick up on what was happening. You get the phone call from Nick Fury, he's got to go, and then she gets a phone call from the science shit, and then she's got to go.
Yeah.
We can easily pick up on what it is, you know. I do agree on that. Let's talk about the. I'll call it the God City because I forgot what the name is, and quite frankly, I don't care what it is. Let's talk
not
about
Olympus,
the God
is it?
City. No, it's not Olympus.
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about the God City sequence. So, second act of this movie is basically they go to the city where all the gods are at, and I thought this scene was going to be beneficial for having a shit ton of Easter eggs, and it really doesn't.
It does, but it doesn't. It doesn't do anything with them.
The only one that I call was a Game of Thrones Easter egg. I know AJ caught it. There's no way he didn't.
Did I?
When the dude was sitting on the throne.
Talking
You
about
mean to
Korg,
tell me
the
that-
Korg guy.
Yeah. You mean to tell me
Is it
that
all the
wasn't a Game of
scissors?
Thrones reference?
See, that's a.
Was it?
It looked like
don't-
it,
I
kinda-
don't think so.
It's
It's just
funny
somebody
because
sitting on a throne.
but the
No,
throne
but it
was
was-
very reminiscent of Game of Thrones.
Oh, was it? I
Yeah.
must have missed it.
it was funny because what he was sitting on was a bunch of scissors, and he's a rock. I thought that was kind of clever. Like it was like pointy, so he could try to think it's scissors
Oh
and it's
my
rock. I thought that
God.
was kind of funny.
Is that what is? Are you talking about the little pink squishy thing?
No.
No, the
Okay,
Korg's guy.
Is that pink squishy thing? Like, I think that's an Easter egg too. That's from something, right?
I don't know what that is.
I
I feel
don't
like
know,
that's
man.
from something, but I don't know.
I was expecting some other gods to show up. I was expecting Beta Ray Bill to show up, who's nowhere to be
Hercules was
found
gonna
in
be
this
there.
movie. Well, he is. He's
no,
not there.
I thought he was going to be in that scene because they had mentioned him like the scene right before.
Yeah, we'll talk about Hercules a little bit, but so they go here because they want to recruit gods, which I think this was a missed opportunity to have Thor
It
and
kinda
Zeus
was.
fighting together. That would have been awesome.
But I think they were trying to tell you that the gods are wrong because Zeus
Yeah.
acted like an asshole to Thor and shit.
Yeah.
Thor.
I mean, okay, but you could have done that by having it. You could have had them go to the Shadow Realm, lose, and then Zeus be like, "Yeah, you're on your own. I'm not doing this."
yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, you could do
Yeah,
that.
I feel
I
like
think that would have been
that works
better.
a little bit better.
But
The
movie does come to a halt when you go there. It's like,
It does.
okay, just
I agree, but I
The movie already
was
was
still
kind
entertained.
the movie was already kind of like moving slowly at that point for me.
right.
And then when we get here, it's like really to a halt. But I was mildly intrigued though. I was like, okay, we're gonna recruit these guys. This is gonna be kind of lit though, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
So we get the introduction of Zeus. I liked the introduction of him. I liked how he did his whole over the top thing, and I
that was
liked how
dope.
Thor was like fanboy, and he was like, "Oh my god, here we go!"
I kind of like that too.
That was funny. It's when he's talking to Thor that I was like, "No, bro."
Came down a little skirt.
Yeah.
Oh,
I-
when I saw that, I was like, yo, I already know.
Yeah.
I already
know,
know
like,
what's about to happen.
I chuckled
like-
at that because it was
Yeah.
unexpected, but then when I saw the movie again, I was like,
It's bad, but you could tell Russell Crowe is having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
that's
having a
true.
great time. So
Again, it's
you know,
not his fault. This
no,
is
no,
how
no.
he's directed and how he's written. It's not his
But
fault.
it looks like he's actually enjoying it though. It's not like he
It'd be
doesn't really
worse
care.
if he was being written this way and he was bad. He's
Yeah, yeah.
great for what he's being told to do.
He has a weird accent and everything. Yeah.
So then we get the scene in the trailer where he flicks and he's butt ass naked. I did laugh that he has a Loki tattoo on his back. I thought that was really funny.
Did your theater clap when that happened? When they saw
No.
cheeks? My
No.
theater literally, you heard girls like,
What?
yes,
Those Abe
I was
Lincoln
like,
scenes?
yes,
Yo,
No.
the Abe Lincoln scenes for rocking.
yeah, the Abe Lincoln seats, bro.
So basically the premise of the scene is that he's asking him for help, and then I did like this when he starts throwing the lightning bolt everywhere, and then he's like, no. I found that funny. But
I just don't kind of like how the lightning bolt is actually like an item to use to fight and gain people's powers and stuff. I feel like with Zeus, it's more
he
I can shoot
summons
powers
them.
or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, but it's like an actual object, and I feel like that was just inconvenience for the plot. For Thor, when he gets the kids, and then he gives them the powers of Zeus, and it's like, what? And it's like that was just.
I think it was kind of cool that it was an item, but I just wish they did more with it.
Yeah.
They did quite a bit, like in the third act with it, but like I think not enough. I feel like it wasn't enough.
Yeah, it wasn't
like the whole intro, the entrance, Zeus's entrance or whatever was kind of more, fantastical than what they actually did with it in the third act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get into a big action sequence. This action sequence was really good. I liked this.
I
was
like,
this is really cool.
Liked it.
We all saw this in the trailer, but I'll touch on it again. Mjolnir is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I love
with the shards, bro.
Yes, bro.
Shards,
that is so fire.
I was smiling.
I did not think before seeing it in the trailer, because I didn't even know before AJ told us. I was like, oh, that's what that was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that's what they were gonna do with the hammer. I thought it was just gonna be the hammer, and then when she's like shooting out the shards and it's coming back, I'm like, that's really cool.
Yo, in the third act,
yeah, that's awesome.
I was freaking out, but
that's awesome, man. And we get to our first fake death in this movie. Korg, Zeus fake kills Korg, and when this happened, I gasped in my fucking theater.
Yeah, I thought it was for real. Like,
I did too, and I wish it was for real.
I said, I hope he's dead,
because I thought it was a great scene, and he
wasn't funny. And Korg wasn't hitting the jokes like that, man.
He was not funny.
I love their relationship. I do. I like their relationship. I like how early in the movie he gets kicked in the face by the goats, and then he's like, "You good, Korg?" He's like, "I'm good, bro." I don't know. I like Korg, and I like their relationship. And I like the joke that comes from this, but at the same time, I don't like that he doesn't stay dead. I like that he was like, "Oh, I guess the only thing that's alive is the mouth on the Korg people." I was like, that's kind of funny. But I didn't like that they didn't keep him dead. I wish they just kept him dead.
He was just a head or a face for the rest of the movie.
It kind of reminded me of 3PO from Empire when he gets all messed up and Chewie has to carry him. So then we go to the Shadow Realm. This is probably visuals the best part of the movie, and they showed it in the trailer, and I was like, Sin City. And then in the movie, I was like, Sin City. It reminds me of Sin City.
I think this scene, I like it overall, and I like the visuals that come with it, because it's like black and white, and it kind of amplifies the shadows or whatever. I get that. I love it. But like I felt like the scene was drawn out a little bit too long. The beginning half of the scene where he has them all choked out and stuff.
I definitely agree with that.
Okay, like let's get to what we're here for, what we're doing.
Man,
but that was how I felt.
I agree with that.
It got to a point with Thor and Valkyrie and Jane Foster is that what is someone's gonna say something and there's gonna crack a joke. So they visually have to shut his mouth up so he can have someone talking and have a serious scene.
Yo,
Now, I'll
That's the
tell you,
only
man,
way. That's the only way no one can make a joke in this movie. They have to be
they
forcefully
have to like
shut
legit
up.
shut their
but then
mouth.
you got Gore being
Because-
quirky and stuff and goofy kind of in this scene.
I
Kind
did
of.
like when he was like, "Call the hammer." He was like, "I'll call the hammer when you call the dentist." I was like, that was funny. I found
Yeah,
that funny.
I think that was the first Asgard fight, right? In New Asgard. I feel like he felt like Spider-Man a little bit, Thor, fighting, making quips during the fight.
Sort of.
Something, you
I
know.
I
kinda
like that
interesting.
scene in the beginning. I like that scene a lot. I thought it
Right.
was
Oh,
really
New Asgard?
entertaining. Yeah,
When he
in the
finds out
beginning.
about Jane.
I like that
Yeah.
scene.
What
So
do you
then
think
we
about
get
the mask? The
it.
helmet. The
I
helmet.
didn't think it looked as bad as it did in the trailer. It still looked wonky though.
It
I
looked
did
bad,
like.
bro.
It looked bad.
I
It looked
liked
bad, bro.
when he put it on. I liked how he went boom and the horns came out. I was like that
Mhm.
was pretty funny.
I think it was. I kind of like the helmet because it is kind of made as a joke because it looks kind of ridiculous.
I want the
So-
fucking Thor 1 helmet back. That's what I want. I've
Yeah,
always
I
said
agree.
this. I'm an ad or the Ragnarok look. I've always
Ragnarok
been
look
an
is great, too.
advocate for him to have the helmet.
Mhm.
That costume in the first Thor movie when he comes out with the helmet on is one of my favorite looks of him. That is
Yeah.
Thor to me, costume wise. I'm like, that's him. Give
Yeah.
him the helmet
Yeah.
back, damn it. And then they give him the helmet, and it looks fucking retarded in this movie. So I can't win. Damn
Not
it,
that helmet.
Taika.
Not that helmet.
Also, dude, this is a nitpick. I don't
Mhm.
like that Jane's helmet looks like when she takes it off, it looks like nanotech. I
It
don't
does kind of look like nanotech.
I don't get
Yeah, I
why
even
they make
remember.
everything they make these pieces of armor that come on and off. They make them all the same. Cuz her helmet is like that. Peter's Infinity War suit, Iron Spider suit is like that.
Well, that is actual nanotech.
Well, yeah, but I wish that it all
You
wasn't
can
the
actually like,
same.
take it out.
Yeah.
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 Like just make it different. It's not gonna kill you. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was a little nitpick, but I was like, why is it like that? That's
It
so
wouldn't make
bizarre.
sense. It doesn't really make sense that Jane's helmet is like that.
Yeah,
it
it
makes
doesn't.
sense that Spider-Man suit is like that, but
Yeah.
Right.
There's another piece of armor in the MCU that's like that. I can't think of it right now. I don't know.
There's a lot.
So we get our second fake death in this movie. The fight in the Shadow Realm is great. It's
It
a
is
great fight. Even the goats getting in on the action, and they had a pretty cool moment.
Can we
So-
talk about Valkyrie a little bit? Because I thought she was
Mhm.
completely wasted. I mean, they hyped up that she was gonna have a love interest, and
I wouldn't say completely.
I think
I
she was
do
wasted.
agree.
I don't think she was.
I do agree
They
that
never went anywhere with it. They just talked about it, and that was it.
I feel like they hyped up the okay when Endgame ends and then he's like, oh, they need a king, and then they really hyped up that scene. I was like, okay, but then when we see her being a king, she's not really doing anything.
Because
Yeah,
she
and they
never-
have
she
a-
didn't really like the stuff she was doing that much.
Yeah, and I kind of like how it was
Because
like
she was doing like commercials and stuff, and
it seemed like New Asgard was becoming a theme park, and
yeah, it was a
how
theme
did she
park.
feel
It's
about
a
that?
tourist
It doesn't.
attraction.
We never saw how she felt.
We never
about
got
it.
a we never got a scene like
That
that.
could have been a cool element too, because it was a nice element. It's like, okay, maybe they need to go back to the old ways of how Asgard is.
Which
instead of a
that's
commercial.
what the end of the movie is suggesting.
You know, it almost feels like Taika is like making fun of Marvel and Disney and the way how pop culture stuff is received with theme parks, especially with that New Asgard. I mean, they had like an Infinity Cones, what's it called, ice cream shop, and it's like if Thanos erased half of you guys, Thor doesn't even like this guy, and you make an ice cream shop.
That's
Any little
fucking
social
hilarious
commentary
to me.
about how
That's social commentary.
merchandising
yeah.
and stuff, because they already had the shirts out for that, and I was like, wow, that's crazy.
I understand why
Infinity
people
Store.
don't like the Infinity Cones thing. I completely hear you. I get it. But at the same time, I found that hilarious. I was like, okay. So yeah, we get our second fake death in this movie, and Valkyrie gets stabbed. And here again, I thought she was dead. But here, if Valkyrie had died, I would have been. I did want her to die, but if she
I want
didn't,
both of them to get out.
if she did die, it would have been it would have meant less than if Korg died. Because if Korg died, it's like, okay, Korg is dead. I love Korg, but if
He
Korg
still
died,
would
it'd
have
be like,
raised the
"Hey, he's dead."
stakes for that final
But
battle.
if Valkyrie had died, I would have liked it less because she didn't really do anything in this movie. You know, she had her moments, which were cool, but she wasn't really in on a lot of the stuff. You know, she
I don't
sits
know
out of
about
the
that.
third
But
act.
she's not really even
I
a
don't know
character in my
about that.
opinion.
She
Compared
what?
to Jane and Thor,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but she
she's
was
not a
like
character.
she was the one who actually stole the lightning bolt. Like she was in on the espionage.
There was no
Like
character
she
development for her. She
no, I'm
just
not
was in
saying
the
I'm not
movie.
saying
what I
was.
mean, what I
So
mean
I'm
she
is
just
was just
saying
that
a
she's part of
walking
it.
action jokes. That's it.
what
I
I
want
meant
more for
by
that.
that, yeah, I can kind of agree with that, and I feel
Mhm.
like they didn't really build on her character at all. She
They
kind
didn't
of
build
was
really on
Because
just
anybody's
Ragnar, she had a
character to
good
me,
story. She had like
honestly.
an
yeah,
actual arc in Ragnar. I don't care for it, but she still had an arc. It's still an arc.
you know,
This
she
one is
doesn't.
like
She's just there because she was
she's
in
just there.
Ragnarok,
Yeah,
and they
Well,
put
basically.
she's
her
the
there
king
in
of
Endgame.
Asgard,
Yeah,
but
that's what I mean. They put her there in Endgame, so it makes sense why she's there. But they don't
They don't do
give
anything.
her
Yeah.
more character, so that way if she did die, I'd be like, oh damn, okay, her character arc is complete. No, if she had died, I'd been like, well, okay.
Right.
Um. So then we find out that the hammer is killing Jane, and
Stormbreaker is the key
this was
to the
yeah,
inf-
he gets the Bifrost. The Gore gets Stormbreaker, which I was like, okay. I found it kind of funny how he was dragging it because he can't pick it up, which
Mhm.
he could realistically pick it up, but whatever. There was this scene where I noticed this and I was like, Taika is really making everyone act the same, and it's this scene where Jane is in the bed and she's trying to get the thingy off, and he's like, "Nope, nope, nope. That has to go there because the medicine, that thing is giving
Mhm.
you the juices to stay alive." And it
Mhm.
was the line delivery where I was like, "Why does everyone deliver their lines the same in this
I feel
movie
like
that are the good guys?"
it's kind of directed that way.
I was like, I kind of don't really like that
Mhm.
because Chris Hemsworth in that scene sounded like Taika Waititi when he
Yeah,
delivers his line. I was like, I don't really know how I feel about that.
that's what happens when you have a writer as the director.
Yeah,
That's what
I don't
happens.
I don't really think writers should be directing because even Nolan doesn't write his own movies, right?
Nolan definitely writes his own movies,
Sometimes, but he
but
always
he doesn't act in his movies though. He doesn't act.
you're
That
right.
too.
So like not everybody sounds like Christopher Nolan because he doesn't.
Certain directors can write and direct, and it works. Tarantino does it, and it
Tarantino.
works. Nolan does it, and it works. I'll tell you one who doesn't fucking work is Shyamalan. Jesus Christ. Uh, Shyamalan should never have ink to paper ever again after Old, bro. Uh, so
So we didn't even talk about what is it called? The Infinite.
who is
I'm on a stream.
my
Um,
phone is on Do Not Disturb. That's weird.
that is
The which
weird.
one?
You got an alarm? The
No.
Infinite isn't it called the Infinite or
Oh,
wherever
Eternity.
he's trying eternity?
Right.
So he's
So
never going to
Eternity.
reach eternity. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
So
what
Eternity.
is this?
Eternity is something big in the
So
Marvel comics where you
yeah,
get eternal
They
powers.
Matt
blew
can
a
explain it. I'm assuming he knows about it. We talked
I know.
about this on Nerd Talk.
They
Yeah.
blew
There's a
through that
good.
fast.
There's a tree of power scaling in the Marvel comics, and Eternity is right there, and there's also love. So what they do here is they get Eternity and they get Love, the girl, and they mush it together because it's kind of Kevin Feige is trying to simplify stuff because there's a lot of comic book stuff that's pretty stupid. There's like this and that going on, so he tried to simplify it. But Eternity gives you eternal powers, and it's like an actual living being. Right here was like a shadow, which I didn't. I quite honestly didn't even understand it. I thought it was like I don't want Eternity in a Thor movie. Use that for something else, like something
I
more
think
grander
most
and
people
epic.
didn't understand it, but They just kind of looked over it. They were like, whatever, this is how it works, because they didn't break it down. They just kind of said,
break it
oh,
down.
what's eternity?
I
And
didn't
then they were
know
like,
that eternity meant what it did in this movie. When he said eternity, I was like, oh, just
you
like
gonna live forever?
powerful. Yeah.
Forever. Yeah.
And then when they were like,
nobody's gonna
no,
catch
you
that.
can, it's basically when you combine the 7 Dragon Balls in DBZ.
Basically,
I was
basically
like,
that.
It's basically
that, but it's so much deeper because it's like an actual being,
It's an
yeah,
actual
if you
being,
listen,
yeah.
if you guys want a full explanation, go on Nerd Talk and we talked. Alex and John broke it down. They gave me a fucking lesson on this shit because I was like, what the fuck is this?
I
bro?
wanted them to break it down in the movie.
Yeah,
That's
AJ,
what
I don't want them to
I
do it at all. I didn't want something this big in the MCU. Well, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be huge in the MCU, but
it should be.
It should be, but not in the Thor movie.
Yeah.
Give me in Eternals, give me in Inhumans,
Yeah.
whatever, something cosmic like that.
Too. That's probably
Doctor
what
Strange.
that should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, AJ, go watch Nerd Talk when we finish. We definitely talked about it. So we get the third act. Thor goes to fight, which I was surprised that Valkyrie was not going with him, but I was like,
she was injured.
I guess she's really that injured because didn't she get stabbed in Ragnarok
She got stabbed,
a couple
but
times?
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
And she was like fine.
Bandages on it.
So
walk it off.
He takes the lightning bolt and goes to, I guess, eternity to fight Gore. Finds the kids, and I did like how he was like, "Does anyone here have training experience?" He's like, "No." He's like, "Well, there's no better time like the present. Let's go." I found that funny, and I found it funny. I found it cool how they were like, he was like, "Listen, you're gonna fight because you're from Asgard," and then you had like certain kids. I'm not Asgardian. I'm blah 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 blah.
You
blah.
are today.
they showed one of the kids who looked like the gold people from Guardians 2, and I was like, oh, cool. I expected there to be Frost Giant, a little baby Frost Giant. I guess that what I wonder where they're at. Where are they at?
They out there. They out there still.
Laufey and all of them. I wonder what they're doing.
I don't think Taika really cares about Thor comics. I think he came out and said that he doesn't care about Thor comics at all. He's just doing Flash Gordon. And we saw Lady Sif too, which was cool because I was like, where's Lady Sif?
Yeah, Lady Sif.
And she had like a comic accurate suit, and I'm like, finally. But then she's like, that's kind of a cheap joke. I think it was kind of funny, but then it was kind of stupid at the same time. Because then
Lady Sif has been the last 2 things Lady Sif has been in has been a joke.
Yeah.
What was the other thing?
Loki, when she was in Loki.
But that was a little bit better than this, though.
It was better, but
I totally forgot what she did in Loki. What did she
was
do?
like,
she was like in like a he was like
Mobius. Mobius sent him to a certain time where he's like, it's repeat,
and she kept coming up to him and smacking him.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. I saw each episode of Loki one time. I'm sorry. I totally forgot that happened. So yeah, we get the third act, and this was the moment I probably jumped out of my seat because I thought this was honestly fucking awesome. He takes the lightning bolt from Zeus and he gives them all the power of Thor, and I like how he was like temporarily. And he gives them all the power of Thor, and I guess Taika Waititi likes Shazam because that's what this was,
like that, for sure.
Are we talking about love?
No, we're talking about the kids when they all get the power.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was
Matt. You didn't like this, bro?
No, I didn't like it.
Why not?
Because it was goofy. I kind of felt that, but I did love that scene with the little bunny rabbit, the plush.
That
bunny
was
rabbit.
awesome,
She's like,
man.
Yeah,
I was like,
funny,
well, I loved it because I didn't see it coming. Legitimately, I didn't see it coming. I was like, I thought he was just gonna go fight and then get his ass kicked, and then Jay was gonna show up and they were gonna fight. When that happened, I said, "Yo, what?" I was like, "Let's go, bro." So Jane finally shows up, and then Thor's like, "No, what are you doing?" And she's like, "Just shut up. Let's go."
Let me do this.
So they both take on Gore, and they reveal that you got to destroy the sword to
destroy him.
Another fucking you got to destroy this weapon. If you destroy this weapon, then they're done forever. We've seen that so many times in the MCU already. So we get a good fight, and they break the sword, and I guess the sword works the same way that Mjolnir does. Because the sword is like coming back together, and then Jane is like, this motherfucker, and she takes him out in a pretty awesome way. Well, takes the sword out in a pretty awesome way.
Yeah. It kind of like
And
shatters and like combines with Mjolnir. I thought
yeah,
something I thought
yeah,
something crazy was about to
yeah,
happen.
I
I
was
said,
confused. I was like, what the
Here's the one
hell?
I
question
was
though.
What's
I
up?
have
uh,
how did Jane Foster even got there?
Use
the
the
Bifrost.
Bifrost.
Does Mjolnir have the Bifrost?
Yeah.
Yeah, both Stormbreaker and Mjolnir have Bifrost.
But how did he get the Bifrost? Because I remember in Infinity War, Heimdall gives him the power
He
of
used the lightning
Bifrost.
The
bolt and he
Thor, yeah,
flew.
he used a lightning bolt to do it. Remember when he like to go like steps down and like the whole lightning goes around him and he like
Okay, yeah.
appears?
All right, I'm tripping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was the part of the movie that I was just confused by, because I thought by them stopping him, he wasn't going to go into eternity, but then he does it
He was gonna
anyway.
be dead. Yeah,
So
you
I
thought
was
he was gonna
like,
be dead, but he was more like dying instead of dead.
so then in my head, I was like, so what the fuck was the point of fighting him in the first place? If
It
the
was
point of this was to prevent him from doing this,
yeah.
because they fight him, they beat him, but then he goes into eternity and does the thing that they didn't want him to do to begin with. I was like, so
Right.
what was the point of this? You know,
They
I
weren't.
didn't really get
They
that.
ultimately weren't able to stop him for what he wanted to do, even though
No,
they
no, no,
destroyed
no, no,
the
no.
sword. What?
Eternity was basically used as a plot device to get love. That's what it was, realistically.
Basically.
Yeah, like
Because
I'm
it
not
was like
negating that, but
it was a
I
hard
don't
switch.
see
It's
the
like, okay,
confusion.
I was just fighting you now, protect my daughter. Just because I
Yeah,
saw someone
that
dying.
was. I
I
was
feel like
I don't really get that.
I
he tried to convey
absolutely
both of the
disliked
plots,
this
the
part.
subplots together, and
What
it
they
just
should have done was
didn't much well.
have it be, oh, Gore beats them, and then he goes, and then Jane can still die because she's using the hammer, and then you just have the same scene play out. Have it be that Gore sacrifices himself and then brings his daughter back.
Yeah, they went
Doesn't
like
that make
this, and
more sense?
it didn't land well. I think.
Like,
It did not
am I
land
talking
well.
out of my ass? Does that not make
It
more
was-
sense?
I don't know. I don't really like
That doesn't sound
either
better than
one.
what we got. It
Not
makes more
really.
sense
a little bit better, yeah, but still
because
kind
to
of like
me it doesn't really make sense how they
Yeah.
had a whole third act and then they beat him, but then he does the thing that they were trying to prevent him from doing. And they said if you destroy the sword, that's it.
Well, he was dying though. You saw him die.
I know, but what I'm saying is it's kind of
He kind of turned back. Did you see like he changed to his whole like face changed? Like
yeah.
there wasn't black. He had regular teeth and all that. The same, he beforehand he had like sharp teeth and all that. Like he kind of reverted back and he was dying, but he was able to get into eternity and have that one wish. And Thor, love, the power of love, and then he was like, okay, I want to bring my daughter back so you can take care of her.
The way I view it, it'd be like if, let's say, hypothetically, in Infinity War, Thor went for the head and he killed him. Boom, he cut off his head. But then somehow Thanos was still alive with no head and he snapped anyway. That'd be what that would be like.
No, that's not the
Yes,
same.
bro. Yes, it
Because
is.
the man is decapitated.
No.
This man wasn't
No,
decapitated.
but my point is they had a technique to defeat him. They do the technique to defeat him, but then they still the villain still does the thing that they were trying to prevent anyway. That's what I'm trying to say.
They lost ultimately.
But what I'm saying is that it doesn't really make any sense how they go through this whole third act to prevent something from happening. They beat him and then it happens anyway. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't really make any sense.
yeah, man.
You see what I'm saying?
It was a left field twist. Trying to convey two plots together didn't work.
Yeah.
But I guess to wait for the segue out of the subject or this conversation is that girl is basically love and attorney, and they give it to he give his daughter to a buffoon. The responsibilities is now handed over to buffoon of Thor. And now it's gonna make
For
sense because
sure.
that character might
For
be
sure.
something in the MCU. You know why
Yeah,
what's gonna
Young
happen to him
Avengers, bro.
because Thor is a loony. And
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Heimdall's son, but Heimdall has a son
Axel.
now. I don't know
I
when that
guess
happened.
he had a son.
Axel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
But
been had
Why
it.
not?
that's cool. You know, I thought the kid was pretty good. You know, if he's gonna show up in the Young
A
Avengers,
floating head.
I'm cool.
Yeah, it was bad.
It's bad, bro.
Oh yeah, that was really bad. That was bad.
It was almost
Uh,
to a point. It's like this is like cheesy '80s type bad CGI where they're trying, but I was like, nah, that
in
was too
some
bad. There's no
instances, in
excuses
the
for
other
it, man.
instances, I like the CGI. So basically, Gore sacrifices himself and brings back Love, which I didn't know her name was Love until yesterday, Sunday.
I don't think he sacrificed himself. I don't think he sacrificed himself in that moment. I think he was dying
Or
in
he
that moment,
died and he
and that
used
was
his Dragon
his
Ball
last
wish
wish.
to bring them back, to
Right.
bring her back.
Right.
And then Jane dies. I was okay with it. You know, I kind of view this as her saying, "Listen, I'm not doing any more of these fucking movies. You got me. You made me important." Because I feel like that's what it was. Taika was like, "We want to bring her back," and then she was like, "I'm not coming back as the scientist girlfriend anymore. If you're gonna
Yeah.
bring me back, make me a badass." He was like, "All right, we'll make you a badass. Fuck it."
Yeah. And she said, "That's it. This is the last one.
Yeah.
I'm done."
That's it. So basically, the movie ends. We see that Sif is back on Asgard, New Asgard, whatever. I hate calling it New Asgard. It's so dumb to me. Just call it
just
Asgard. And I kind of hate calling it Asgard anyway because it's not really Asgard.
Just call it Studio 17 where they shot it. That's all you need to call it.
You know, it's like, you know, it's like going to Canada and calling it Hawaii. It's so like, just no, you know.
It's not. Yeah.
You
I
ever
don't
been to
know.
New Jersey? You ever been to Old Jersey?
Yeah, right. You know, I don't know. It's so weird to me. So we see that Valkyrie and Sif are basically training all these kids.
Yeah.
And then Thor basically has a daughter now, or a niece. Which it's awesome. I did find it funny when he was like, "Put your boots on," and she was like, "Go to hell," and almost killed him. That I found that
Shut up,
funny.
demon.
That was funny. So basically, the movie ends and we get her Love wielding Stormbreaker, right? I'm pretty sure it was
Mjolnir, I think.
Stormbreaker.
Milner.
You sure?
No.
Or
It was
the other way?
Stormbreaker. It was Stormbreaker. Yeah.
And
Mjolnir.
we see that
Thor
he's
has
gonna. Well, whatever. One of them has a hammer, and then the other one doesn't. Has another hammer, and we see that he's gonna train her, and they're Love and Thunder, and I like that. That's cute. And then the movie ends, and I'm excited to see Thor again, and I'm excited to see him fighting side by side with Love. That's gonna be awesome. That visual to me is gonna be so awesome when we get it, because I feel like they're gonna give them an Avengers Infinity War style entrance whenever they show up again. I don't think they're just gonna mosey on in. I think that whatever team up movie we get, they're gonna be getting their asses kicked, and then they're both gonna show up with the hammers and just start going crazy. I can't wait for that. I think that's gonna be awesome. I don't know who she is in the comics, but
She's Eternity and Love mixed together, basically.
but does she have the hammers in or hammer in the comics?
I mean, those comic characters are super OP, so I'm pretty sure they could roll whole Mjolnir. It's not a thing, I guess.
But yeah, that's Love and Thunder.
That's Love and Thunder.
We get the so the post credit scenes. The first one is Zeus is still alive. We didn't talk about this. Zeus fake died. We had 3 fake deaths in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Zeus died
fake
too,
died as well.
which I was like, whatever. He's still alive, and I was kind of okay with it. I was like, okay. I have a wish. I don't think it's gonna happen, but I kind of hope that they play him more seriously in the next movie, which it won't happen. But I feel like he will, based off the dialogue he was given in this scene. Because in this scene he was serious, and I kind of like that. And then we get the reveal that Hercules is now in the MCU. And when he said, "Rise, my son Hercules," I literally shouted in the theater, "Holy shit!" Because I did not think we would get Hercules ever in the MCU. And Hercules fighting Thor, bro, that's gonna be raw. I can't wait for that personally. I saw that and I was like, yo, that's gonna be really cool.
It'd be dope.
If
It'll be dope if it's not made into a joke.
yes, if it's taken seriously.
If it's taken seriously, it could be amazing.
Or if they make it like Hella, because I like Hella in the sense she's evil. She is joking and shit, but she's
Not-
more evil.
Yeah,
She's not a clown.
not in a clownish way. More like a
She's like
sarcastic,
sadistic way,
sadistic way. Yeah,
like
for
the
sure.
scene in Ragnarok when she gives that whole speech, and then one of the guys is like, "Oh, we'll stop at nothing to beat you," and then we don't care whoever you are, whatever. And then she goes, "Whoever I am, did you not hear what I just said?"
Right.
That I love that scene. But yeah, I really hope that Hercules is taken seriously in the MCU because
It's gonna come down to, I feel like this first weekend had a good weekend because it's MCU. I think it's gonna have a good weekend, but a lot of discourse in the internet. I'm curious where the second week lands for this movie because money talks, and we'll see if they even make another one because it doesn't seem like extreme guarantee because Taika came out and said, "I'll do it if Hemsworth comes back." It's not like, oh, I'm already writing the script.
Come back.
Yeah, I was like, I'm writing a script right now. It wasn't that type of guarantee. It was like, I'll come back. It'll happen, but who knows? So we'll see. And I definitely think if they do a fifth, if they do a Thor 5, I feel like it's gonna be a little more toned down. I think they're gonna go back to Ragnar type tone. I don't think it's gonna be like this.
Taika could listen to the reception of this movie.
Yeah,
Bro, I want a Thor: The Dark World type of film, but less boring. That's what I want. I want to kind of revert.
I want
back
that
to
first
that.
Thor. I want Kenneth Branagh to come back.
Hey, look, I know that they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. But the best we were going to get is a more cinematic, like Thor: The Dark World mixed with Ragnarok. That's probably what we're going to get.
Hopefully,
at best. But I recently rewatched Thor: The Dark World, and still sort of a boring movie, but I can appreciate a lot of the cinematic technicalities with that movie because the
costume designs are dope.
It looks great. It looks really good.
The action is pretty good in that movie.
The action is good as well. Yeah, for
the
sure.
The third act is a lot of fun.
I like the third act. By the third act, I'm not really caring about what's going on, but what's happening on screen is cool. Like I don't really care about.
I like them jumping through the
that was
the portal thing.
Yeah.
That's cool, but like the fact, like what's actually happening in the scene, I'm just like okay, but like what's happening on screen is cool. So hopefully we can get something like that for next Thor 5.
Hopefully not, man. I don't want to see no more Thor. That's it. I'm done with this boy right here.
If we get a Thor 5, like I definitely want to see Thor in future projects. But if we get a Thor 5, I want it to be kind of a mix between Dark World and Ragnarok.
I think the best, maybe the best recent mix is Infinity War Thor, in my opinion. If we could get that Thor, I'll be down with it. But I don't want to see it. But I get what you're saying. You want like a cinematic,
as far as the film itself. Now,
his
personality, I'll take Infinity War Thor, Infinity War Ragnarok some, but
that won't work the best because it was him bantering off the Guardians. It was never I'm making a joke. It's more of there's a raccoon in here and I'm calling them funny names and stuff. I think that's what it was more. And you talk about the Guardians too in here. I mean, they were kind of wasted in a sense.
That's why we
they weren't wasted. They were in it just enough because I didn't want them in this movie at all. When I heard that they were going to be in this movie, I was like,
I didn't want Guardians in this movie.
Yeah, that's true. And Chris Pratt looks. Is it me or Chris Pratt just looks old? Like he got old.
He get older. He get older. That's what happens though.
He's getting old. Like I don't know, man.
If the Guardians were in this movie, I don't think I'd ever want to see them ever again. Ever.
Yeah,
I think Guardians would have fit in this movie very well.
No,
given the tone of this movie.
I don't think Taika knows how to banter around the Guardians because there
No.
was like dialogue of like Drax saying the same old
They
Drax
would have.
dialogue, and
They would have. He would have made the Guardians so fucking annoying
Bro, chill.
to
yeah, I
the
can see
point where
that.
I would have been like, "Bro, shut up."
Yeah,
I just no. I don't. I
I
would have
already
never
felt
wanted
that way, so I felt like that would have worked perfectly.
Um, how do you, we didn't talk about this? How do you guys feel about Hercules in the MCU?
um, just don't make it a joke. That's it.
he looks
If
small,
they,
man. Yeah,
I
that boy
think
looks
it could,
small. I don't think he looks like Hercules to me, in my opinion.
I think he's gonna get another costume. I don't think that's gonna be.
Yeah, because it did look like a. I don't know. He
It
just
looked
looks
like a
small to me.
very. It looked like a very base Hercules costume.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So
Like
we'll
I
see.
forgot what character got revealed in a post credit scene, and then they changed their costume, and it looked better. I can't put
Mhm.
my finger on it at the moment.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Um, fuck, man, I'm trying to think because I know it happened. Can't think of it. So someone let us know because I know there's a post credit scene where they revealed someone and we were like, "What the fuck is that costume?" And then they changed it and we were like, "Ooh, that's better." Oh, we didn't talk about this
Yeah.
the skit. I thought it was funny.
I thought the second part of them coming back was funny with Matt Damon and Luke Hemsworth were like, "Oh, what should we do now? What
Yeah,
should be
that
the
was
script for this
funny.
one?" I thought that was kind of funny.
He was like, "I didn't hear a no. Let's
Yeah,
get
yeah,
to
yeah.
work." I was like,
Where's
"That's funny."
Melissa McCarthy in that scene?
The
She
beginning
just
scene.
was there for
Keep
that
her
one.
away. Keep her away and never show her again because
Right,
she's
right,
awful.
right.
She was fine in this movie, but I don't want to see her. No, away. Shoo. Goodbye.
You know,
Like that fly on the floor right now. Goodbye.
yeah,
Um,
I didn't like that
the
scene.
second post credit scene before we get out of here. Basically Jane goes into Valhalla, which I was like, oh, okay, so she's gonna stay dead. Good. Color me shocked, but good. And we get the return of Idris Elba as Heimdall, who we'll probably never see again. But
Probably not.
Heimdall, which both times I saw the movie, my theater was like, "Yay, let's go!" Which I guess people like Heimdall now because I felt like I was on an island.
They didn't like Heimdall?
No one really liked him.
He
They were like,
just
"Eh,
he
whatever."
was fine.
I
I
personally
mean,
really like Heimdall. That's just
I
me.
feel like people just kind of like don't really care about him that much, but like seeing him again was cool because he
Right.
died so nobly. So like I think that was kind of the case, but I think people still are like, okay, Heimdall, he's cool, you know.
Yeah.
It did look a little
Idris Elba.
wonky though. His
Idris
head
Elba.
looked weird.
Yeah, his wig looked kind of weird.
This is not the property I want to see Idris Elba in. I want to see him on the other side with Bloodsport and the gang. That's what I want. I don't want him in the MCU no more. I like Heimdall, but stay away because they don't value you as much as James Gunn does in the DCU.
I think Heimdall
He could have
has
used a
served
different
his
role.
purpose.
Yeah, but also too, Idris Elba when he was doing those that first Thor, he wasn't as big as he is now. Like now he's getting his own movie, final line and stuff. So it's like I think now he'll probably pick the different role, like a more.
Bro, he punched that lion straight in the face.
Yeah.
That movie looks wonky.
It does. I kind of want to see it though.
I hope it's like Crawl, where it's kind of just to the point, doesn't
Yeah.
really try to do nothing crazy. But
Right.
all right, we are
Crawl's
gonna get
getting a
on.
4K. Did you see that?
Yeah,
That's
I
pretty
might
cool.
buy it. I don't know. The Blu-ray is pretty good, so
I don't own it, so I might get it.
I might. I'm not in a hurry to get it, but that is the spoiler-free or spoiler-filled section of Thor: Love and Thunder. Again, I really like the movie. Critically, I'd probably give it like an 8. Enjoyment. I enjoyed the fuck out of this movie. I did. I had a blast with it, and I can't wait to watch it again. This is gonna be like Multiverse of Madness. Multiverse of Madness, I wasn't that keen on when I first saw it, but then I've watched it twice since it being on Disney Plus, and I loved it both times I watched it again on Disney Plus. I'm excited to watch this movie again. I'm excited to see where Thor goes. In terms of the MCU for the future, we got She-Hulk coming up, which
Next
we've had no press about. Comic-Con is next week, so we'll see if we get a new trailer with these supposed fixed CGI effects. Um, I think the hype for that show has kind of been deflated after that CGI. Because we've said it time and time again, the show itself doesn't look bad. It looks fine. It looks like it could be fun. It's just CGI is terrible. And then we got in November Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which I don't think anybody on this God's green earth is excited for, because I just, especially with the leaks that I've seen from the merchandise of Ironheart. Oh my god. Oh man, that's rough. But thank you to everyone who was in the chat. Thank you, Luke, Jason, Charles. You guys are awesome. In terms of future content for me, I'm not making a promise. This is probably going to happen. I'm probably going to post a review for Us tomorrow on Instagram. I'm not making promises because I still haven't finished the movie yet.
Matt's face, bro.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I'm not making promises. In terms of YouTube, we won't do, well, we'll do Nope if it's good, but we won't do Nope next weekend because AJ is going to be out of town. We'll probably do it around Thursday-ish, give or take. Next week, I'm aiming for this. We'll see what happens. I'm planning to do Baby Driver as a watch along next week on the channel. I know AJ is gonna be there. I'm gonna try to make it that AJ is there because
yes, sir.
I know he loves.
I gots to be there.
I'm gonna try to fill that watch along up. But yeah, Baby Driver is gonna be next week. And then for Instagram, after this week, I'm gonna take a break for next week because nothing's coming out other than Nope, and I just want to relax. If I don't post my Us review tomorrow, then it'll be next week. I'm probably gonna post it tomorrow though. I don't know. We'll see. And then after that, nothing's really coming out. So I'm gonna start reviewing the Predator movies leading up to Prey in August, which I'm excited for. Predator is a terrible franchise.
Oh yeah.
It's rough. There's a couple that are okay. I like 1 and 3.
Yeah, 1 and 3 are, especially 3. 3 is a shit.
3 is probably the best of the franchise.
2 and 4 are the shit in the total opposite ways. They're
4 I didn't hate. I didn't hate myself watching that one. I didn't.
Is that the 2018
good.
one?
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't good by any means, but what, man?
That was dog shit.
Yeah, it's dog shit.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Have you seen 2?
Wasted potential.
2 is pretty bad too.
2 is definitely bad.
But I 2 is bad. 4 is bad. But I think I'm more angry with 4 because of the potential that the movie had.
I mean, you got Shane Black in it. I mean,
you got Shane Black, and you got a pretty stacked cast, and you got 2018 modern technology to make a Predator movie, and that's what you do, bro.
Yeah, I look like dog shit.
Predator 2, I can kind of excuse because it's the 80s, and they made a bunch of random dog shit in the 80s anyway. So,
but not Predator.
I got to do a rewatch on all of them, man.
Predator.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
No, definitely not 2.
Predators, yeah.
Bro, 2 just makes me mad, bro.
All right.
Anyway.
Let's head on out of here, man. Thank you to everyone who showed up. All these guys' links are going to be in the chat below. Stay up. Just go to my Instagram and pay attention for the future stuff, you know. Again, if I don't post my Us review tomorrow, it'll be on Monday, you know. We'll see how I feel after this stream right now. I could go and watch the last hour of that movie. Do I want to? Absolutely not. But we'll see. Thank you guys once again so much. And we will see you on the next one. Everyone have an absolute great night, man.